With the introduction of a new map in Lotus and the reintroduction of an old map in Split, I think it's time that we sit down and talk about maps in Valorant. To begin with, let's start with Lotus. Lotus is now the second map in Valorant that has 3 sites. What's interesting is that for a long time people believed that Haven was just going to have the 3 sites because that was its neat quirk. It was the one thing that made Haven different. But it's actually good to see that Riot is not straying away from making other maps with 3 sites. I think 3 sites introduce a variability that a lot of people don't consider. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. At the beginning of Valorant, it felt like I was playing Haven almost all the time. Even when Valorant introduced changes to their map picking algorithm, I was getting Haven 3 times back to back. But the one thing about Haven that I didn't realize until Lotus came out is that I don't think I've ever hated that map. I mean, if you bring up Fracture in the map queue, I tend to be pretty pissed off. I still to this day don't really enjoy playing Fracture. A lot of people hate Breeze. I personally don't mind it, but players seem to dislike Breeze. We don't even have to talk about Icebox. A lot of people even to this day still do not enjoy playing Icebox. More often than not, Riot misses when it comes to these new maps. I think at some point every map will be revisited by Riot, whether it's through small changes or complete reimaginations. Like look at Split. I think at first, Split was a very one-sided map. They made a couple of changes to the map. Players began to enjoy Split again, but Riot was still not satisfied. They took it out of the map rotation. It's been out of the map rotation for a couple of acts, and now it's back, revitalized with different methods of getting onto sites. I think it's kind of up to Riot to really make sure that these maps, especially some of the older ones, have some life in them. And especially with them announcing recently that they're taking Bind out of the rotation to improve on it, I think this is the first time that a lot of players were confused, because with Split it made sense. But with Bind, although there are a few select people that don't like Bind, I think for the most part when it comes to the player base, a lot of people really enjoy that map. The thing that Riot really hangs on to and their main reasoning for taking it out of the rotation is because they wanted to explore how to have more impact with the teleporters, which is the main gimmick of that map. Every map in Valorant has a sort of quirk or gimmick. There's something about every map that makes them unique. And for the longest time, people thought that Haven's quirk was it's the map with 3 sites. But clearly that wasn't its quirk, because Lotus has come out with 3 different sites. I'm actually in favor of Riot doing this because I think maps with 3 sites present a lot of variability to players. You can definitely still see that scenario nowadays with Haven. Players have developed different methods of reaching each site that it's very rare that you see a team fall on one strategy over and over. I'm not saying that maps with 2 sites don't have variability. I'm simply saying that maps with 3 sites have more. And I think this contributes to one thing that a lot of players overlook, which is the lifespan of a map. Let's look at Ascent. I think Ascent for me is easily one of my more favorite maps, but I think it's one of the maps that is least talked about nowadays. I don't think it's for any particular bad reason, but simply because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, feel free to drop down a comment down below, but I truthfully think that a lot of players have kind of just grown tired of it. Not in a bad sense in that they think that the map is one-sided like Split, or that the map just doesn't play well like a lot of people think of Breeze and Fracture, but rather that it's almost predictable what you can expect from teams. Of course, because a team is composed of 5 different players, you're almost always never going to get the same scenario play out on a match, but there's only so much variability with 2 sites. Keeping Haven's map with 3 sites was going to be a missed opportunity, so I'm really glad that Riot took this chance with Lotus to make a new 3-site map. I got the opportunity to play Lotus before it came out with this episode, and I will say at first glance it definitely seems big, but after playing a couple of matches you start to realize that it really isn't. When the round starts, you can instantly get into a gunfight from all 3 sides. B site giving you a close engagement, while the other 2 sides provide a more mid to long engagement. It essentially has a little bit of everything for everyone. I played with a Chambermaid who was excited, and then also played with a Killjoy and Cypher who felt like they could lock down sites with all of their equipment. Of course, there were some people that didn't like the map, but that's to be expected. Another question you could throw out there is whether Lotus is Haven 2.0 or not. And I think because it's the only other map with 3 sites, a lot of people are going to say yes, but I truly don't believe that because of course they have different layouts, but they also play differently. As I mentioned, I think the fact that they made a version of the doors on Lotus so it could differentiate from what Haven is with no doors, I think was a really smart idea. And it also gives a gimmick for Lotus that isn't just the fact that it has 3 sites. In regards to how it compares to other maps from the ones we've gotten recently, like I said, I think Pearl has been one of the better maps, and I will say that I personally actually enjoyed Lotus more than Pearl. But I mean, when we talk about Fracture, Breeze, and Icebox, there's no competition. Lotus is significantly better than those 3. I don't know if I would put it over Ascent or Bind personally, and like I said, I still haven't gotten a chance to play the new version of Split, but I do think it's going to be a good map for a lot of players, and I'm glad that it's introducing a lot of new variability to the game. Point being, I'm excited for Lotus. I'm excited for what Lotus means for Valorant, that Riot is willing to relook at certain gimmicks from other maps and reapply them in different ways and get creative. I know a lot of people were thinking that, oh, Riot's going to limit themselves or they're going to run out of ideas eventually, but you can always reinvent something and reimagine it in a different way, and I'm glad that they're not limiting themselves with maps, especially early on where they could definitely make 10-15 maps all having different gimmicks. Instead, they're already revisiting older gimmicks like with 3 sites in Haven, using 3 sites in Lotus, and applying different ideas to these maps. This is one of the first free commentary videos that I didn't really do a script, so if you're new here, I know it was a little jumbled, but I wanted to try this style out. If you've been around, I appreciate you for watching my videos. Definitely have some good content ideas coming out this year, so stay tuned. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, comment down below, join me on this conversation. Did you like Lotus? Are you excited for Lotus? What do you think about maps with 3 sites? Drop all of that down below in the comments. I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace out.